because he took the steps one day at a time with the coaching and the check-in. He had a plan. He's still following it to this day. And like I said, we're about to go into phase 2 purification, but he corrected what he needed to correct, brought his pain levels down, and the physical part. Now, you see, we started bringing down the first 3 principles. The physical part, well, that was a little something, wasn't it? So I do an assessment on him back in July of 2024. I did my comprehensive physical assessment at his girlfriend's apartment. So I don't have a studio here yet in Jacksonville. And not to go into detail, but I cover a lot in my assessment protocol. I always have. I've always been very comprehensive. And wherever you see red is where pain was indicated. And when there's pain indicated, that's when I know I have to refer out. And I'm not unfamiliar with that because I would say 80% of the people that I seen while working in Asheville for 19 years, whether I work clinically or and when I got my own facility, people came to me in pain. So what's involved in a comprehensive physical assessment? So of course I do posture, I do a vestibular test, I do a number of other tests, and I have spaces left open for feedback from the chiropractor, because when I worked with the chiropractor in Asheville, after he did x-rays and did his eval, we worked really well together. So he would give me all kinds of information, everything from if the person had a spinal pathology. So here I have a list of things that have to do with spinal pathologies, or if they had instabilities. I look and measure these things if needed. Granted, this is a comprehensive approach. Not everybody needs this much of an assessment. And comparative range of motion basically looks at joint mobility and muscle flexibility. So one side of the body compared to the other. And I compare it to all the normals, right? So I have my mean values here and I compare it. So as an example, with Josh, his x-rays, he was outside the normal for his lower back curve. And there are corrective exercise strategies that are specific to correcting these imbalances. Now here, basically, I'm just checking to see how far one shoulder blade moves compared to the other when he raises his arms overhead. Again, it goes back to, is one side of the body short and tighter than the other? And then my question is, why is that tighter? This is one of 2 different ways that I actually test for hamstring flexibility. I have a different approach. I use more of a scientific approach for one and just a movement approach for the other. Now here I'm having him go and do a back bend, and I'm always asking the client, do you feel pain when you do it? And which side feels tighter to them compared to what I am observing? Because sometimes they may feel tighter on one side, but I may see them tight on the other. And look at the curve as he bends nice and naturally to the right, and you'll see he has restrictions when he goes to the left. And you'll see this later on. I never work alone. All the successes that I've had, and I've had some pretty tough cases, and I will always tell people when I share what I've done, I've never done it alone. I needed help down here. Down here meaning I'm in Jacksonville now because I used to operate in Asheville, North Carolina. And I needed to find Josh a chiropractor. Everybody should go to a good chiropractor. There's a reason for it, but I needed to find someone that could do a chiropractic evaluation, and I needed x-rays. I don't like to work blind. And he now appreciates the fact that we needed data. So when in doubt, the phone comes out. So I find a chiropractor to refer him to. And lo and behold, the x-rays were revealing. So let's go there. So we're going to look at a few before and afters. And thanks to the chiropractor's expertise and me coordinating with him. So why don't you explain that part to him? The part where the communication was vital, because it wasn't like you just went there and then I tried to guess what I was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding, how your practitioners that you want to help you work together is crucial for, your forward success. I think about it this way. I want to work with Brian and I want him to help me, get out of pain and fix up all the holistic aspects of my lifestyle. And, we identify that, it probably need chiropractic work to help remove some of the nerve interference. I don't want to go work with a chiropractor that's not going to communicate with Brian. Because if he doesn't know how they're adjusting me and how they're making changes when I go into their office and see them, Brian's not going to know how to prescribe my movement plan. So then there's a disconnect, and I'm not going to be able to, they might be doing one thing, he might be doing another thing, and those might not be working together. So the real goal is to be able to work in unison. So whatever they're doing is supporting whatever Brian's doing is supporting with the end goal of moving forward. So Brian identified a really good clinic in town, came in with me to do the evaluation, was able to, articulate on my behalf sort of where I'm at from a physical standpoint, the emotional biochemical that was very helpful because, I can articulate that, but Brian's the professional here, so he was able to do an excellent job of communicating with them where I'm at currently and what the goal is and what he's seeing in terms of the movement, the imbalances, some areas being long and weak, short and tight, and being able to, help me get in the door, get on a plan that was going to be, corrective through the chiropractic. And yeah, so having that support is really massive.
You can't do it without it. I was blessed to work with a chiropractor for 8 years and saw firsthand how important it was for me to communicate. And it doesn't matter, because Josh is now seeing somebody who does body work, I communicate with him. If he were to see anybody with nutrition, I would coordinate with them. So, as an example, let's look here on the left. This is what his spine looked like at the beginning, and this is a reevaluation, which was, I think, was that about 3 months later?
Yeah, it was about 3 months later. I want to say it was like 20 or 24 sessions at
Sessions.
about twice a week.
And the chiropractor will agree that, chiropractic will help. And I've always suggested to my patients when I worked in chiropractic care, but the chiropractic adjustments just wouldn't hold. And I remember a patient saying to me once, "Can you make it so I don't have to come in here 2 days a week?" And I said, "Yeah, if you get with me on corrective exercises, the exercises that I will design will hold your adjustments longer." So look at here. You see the curve, and now he's a lot straighter. And this is another one that's night and day. Hi, Josh.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, what's important here is if you're not assessing, you're guessing, is what I'm saying to people. And when we look at posture, here, this is the kind of low back Josh had. So when we look back at that curve, look at that curve he's got. That's a little bit too much, as shown in the image on the right side. Because of my training, I know what to do specifically to correct that imbalance. This is the after, so his back is in a lot better position. Again, it's not just his low back. He doesn't just have a low back issue. Remember, his original issue was his shoulders, then he had low back, then he had heel pain. And what else was there? Was there knee pain too?
Knee pain as well.
So it's a body problem, ladies and gentlemen.